Hey guys, to be able to import your model into Navis software, you should definitely use NWC Utility Exporter plugin, and you can even Google it. Let's try it right now. NWC Utility Exporter. Okay, let's see, can we have it or not? Unfortunately, I can't do this right now. But when you Google this phrase, you can find it easily, and you can find it in Autodesk website. It's available for different versions, and you should find it, download it, then you can install it. It used to be installed along Navis software automatically till 2020, I think, but there was a condition. You should install Revit software first, then you should install Navis software. But after 2020, we don't have this possibility anymore, and this plugin is not with Navis software automatically anymore, and you should install it separately. Actually, we use this plugin to convert RVT files into NWC or Navisworks cache, and it helps you to open your files in Navis software fast and easily. So here, export. I did it before to save the time, to be able to focus on the training. But there will be a short description for new friends. So first of all, here you should select export, but don't export them immediately after facing with this window. Click on this Navisworks setting, then you'll face with this window with some settings. Some settings like divide files into level. This option just added to this newest version 2024. Ambient textures as well. Also separate custom properties and type properties on elements as well. Recently added to this version 2024. And all of these options are amazing. Select the options which I'm telling you to be able to have this process correctly. Okay. Right here, the first option, which is Convert Construction Part. With this item, you can select the element or the Create part if you use in Revit software. When this checkbox is selected, the parts will be moved. When it's not selected, the element will be moved. Normally, we don't select this. We select it when we used many Create parts in Revit software. Next one is Convert Element IDs. When we select this in Navis software, with selecting each element, you can have a separated tab which is Element IDs, just for the IDs of the elements. It's okay if you don't want to select this checkbox, because these IDs can be available in ID tab or Element tab. But sometimes it can help you to avoid confusing and have all of the IDs in a single separated tab. Here we have Convert Element Parameters. Here you can control the parameters which you want to move them, and normally we put it in all to move all of them. Here, Convert Element Properties, select to move them in instance. Convert Light should be deselected. You should have it when you have light in your project, especially in architectural projects. You can have it to move the lights, and here in Navis software, here you should select Headlights to be able to use this. But there is a restriction. You cannot move more than 12 lights, I think. Okay, after that, here we have Convert Linked CAD Formats. This one is about the CAD formats, but it's not about AutoCAD. Be careful. Right here. Insert and Link CAD. Here are the formats: DWG, DXF, SketchUp, Rhino, and these kind of formats. If you use each of these formats in your project, here you can select to move them or not. Most of the times we don't select this checkbox and we try not to move CAD files here in this software. But sometimes you might have an interior design or a complicated project or a classic project or any complicated form, and you couldn't have these difficult things and curves in Revit, and you did it in Rhino instead of Revit. In this situation, you can have this item to move them as a CAD file. If you want to move them, you should select this checkbox. But generally, we don't select this. After that, here we have convert linked files. For example, I have two linked files. When I select this checkbox, those linked files will be moved with this file, and we don't need it. And we try to move the files individually. Why? The reason is that if you want to have an effective role as a BIM coordinator, or if you want to work as a professional BIM modeler, you should act professionally. As an instance, if you want to work on the clashes, just interfering the clashes cannot be enough. And you need to create a clash matrix template. Then you should work according to that template. Then you can do the clashes, and after each clash set, you should add the number of interferences to your model, and that's it. This is the way which you should work. Okay, when I select this checkbox to move the linked files like mechanic or other things, I can't manage my file in Navis software easily because all of these linked files will be the subset of the main file here in Navisworks. So we prefer to deselect it and try to export mechanic or other files separately. Okay, after that, here we have convert room as an attribute, which is for architecture. When you have room in your project, the elements can be defined and related to a room. For example, related to room 1 or 2. And I deselect it. After that, convert URLs. If you have any site or URL in your project, you can select it to export it. Right here, URL. When we define a site here, as an instance, I want to have this site, okay, like this. Or we can define a file for these things. For example, I want to have that file which was related to the clashes. I find it, then I select this, and here I select the whole path, and I paste it here. Then, for sure, when I click on this, I can have that file. And I can have this in Navis software as well. So, right now, when I select this checkbox, I can export the URLs. If I don't want to export them, I don't select this checkbox. Guys, if you use downloaded families in your projects a lot, don't select this checkbox. This option cannot be suitable for you because for sure there are some URLs related to the company or the office which made that family, and when you convert them, there will be some extra weird links in Navisworks which all of them are useless and they might cause some problems unless you delete them in Revit software. You should replace them. Except of this, it's better to deselect this checkbox. I myself controlled them, so I select it. After that, coordinates. For now, it can be unshared as default. Then divide file into levels. Guys, it doesn't mean that when we have a column or a wall here, it's modeled from the base to the top. First of all, it cannot be a correct modeling, and we should always model the items for each level separately. In this way, we can control them better, we can have a better management, we can control the overlappings, forming, and also quantification. But here, this item is modeled from the base till the top. And when we select this item, we don't cut it. It can be useful for facilities. As an instance, we have two levels and we have some facilities under the roof of the lower level. And the facilities are minus 4,000 millimeters under the roof. And this can be confusing in Navisworks. In this situation, this option can help us. It will analyze and select the reference level automatically. After that, for ambient textures, we just add it to version 2024. If you have some textures for your materials in Revit software, you can ambient the textures in the file and they will be saved. But unfortunately, this option wasn't available for the previous versions. Next item is export. You want to export the whole project or the current view or selections. If you want to select selections, you need to select some items first. Then you can export the selected items to the Navisworks. I prefer to have it in current view, what we can see here, except of the links because we deselected. When you select export room geometry, it will export the rooms as a geometry to Navisworks. In this way, you can select the room in Navisworks, you can check the informations, or you can consider some colors for the rooms. And this option is more useful for the architecture or mechanic when you use space. So that's it. I deselected. The next one is facing factor, which is really important. This item is one of the 5 most important options of this list. But what is it for? It's on 1 as default. Let me open Navisworks. Wait a minute. I open a file. This one here. Okay, as you can see, here we have some curves. Guys, when you want to check the overlappings in Navisworks, this software converts all of the elements to some shells, and all of that shells and surfaces consist of some triangles, each of them with 3 sides. Guys, we can say that we have a hard interference in Navisworks only when 2 triangles from 2 different elements are facing with each other. Except of this situation, we don't have a hard interference. Okay, for example, right here, we have a triangle and another triangle here. These 2 are facing with each other, they're interfering. And now when I change the tolerance to 0, it will be considered as an interference. But what is facing factor for? Look at here, these are curves. Wait a second. When I move this plumb to here, like this, I select these 2, then right here, right click, and I change it to 2D. Most of the times in Revit software, you should model 2 subjects close to each other. And those 2 subjects might be overlapping in Revit software and you're not careful enough to see it. Here in the settings, when you have 1 for facing factor, it will make them hard. Look at here. For example, it will export the plumbs with this section, like a pentagon. They're not curve and circle anymore. And even if there is an overlapping when they are circle, they cannot have overlapping when they are hard like this. And later in Navisworks, this cannot be considered as a clash anymore. When they are curved like a circle, they're like this with this section. This facing factor controls the curves and softness of the elements. Here, I change it to 10, but it depends on the files. As an instance, for constructions, 5 can be okay. Or for facilities, especially when you have many curves, it's better to have some values like 10, for example. After that, separate custom properties. Such an interesting option in new version. Guys, in Revit software, in manage section, we have a section which is project parameters, which if we want, we can add some parameters here. As an instance, here I want to add 4D simulation elements and check all of the options, data type text, and in construction. This is an example. And okay, when I select each of these elements, a 4D simulation element is added to them. And I can add some informations to it, like this. Okay, guys, your added parameter used to be placed in element in last versions, but right now I can select this checkbox to create a separated tab in properties window in Navisworks to be able to see this parameter there, which we call it custom. And this one which is for finding the missing material, and last one type properties on element. So for now they can be like this, okay, and save. I've exported before, so click on yes to apply the changes. Be careful to do this. When you export your models in Navis software, don't have a new save. Just apply the change on the previous one. Okay, done. Here in Navis, reset. Here, new. Okay, now, in Navisworks, I always use open to have the file for the first time. Here, open the desired file, and usually simple slowdown. Open it, like this. Other disciplines should be open here. It's not possible to open another one anymore. There is a restriction about it. In Navisworks, you can only open one file. When I want to open another file, the previous one will be gone. So, only one file. Unless you use sheet here in this section. Here. When I use sheet browser, I can open some files first, like this. Now, when I have a click on each of these items, it will be opened separately, like this. Here again. Now, these things are as some sheets, and if you want, you can append them to another file, to current file. For example, the current file is a structure. I can have a click on plumbing to append it to current file, which is a structure, or this one. It will be added here. And then I can delete them here because I don't want them anymore. And I close this one. So, you can do this in sheet browser or here in this section. It's up to you, which one you prefer. Okay, now here is the model. And right now I can append electrical to this structure. It will be added like this. Guys, you can check whatever you add here in selection tree window. Here, I want to have a right click to delete electrical. Yes. Guys, as you can see, each of these files are a separated file. And this is the reason which I told you you have to export your files individually. Because it's better to have them here like this. Before describing Clash tab, let me tell you something. You can click on App Store here. Then the website of the App Store or Autodesk will be open, which I can't do this right now. You can find and download the plugin of the properties. Then you should install it. Guys, it's optional. If you want, you can install it. I will tell you about the reason why do we need it. And here we have another plugin which is coordination. And those plugins are free. Download them and install them to have them here in Navisworks. I'm talking about these two for now. They're really interesting. This one properties, when I open it, this window will be here. And Navisworks has another one. Let's have both of them. And these are totally different from each other. This is plugin published by Autodesk and default tool. Just select an element and compare these two. As you can see, this one is really comprehensive. Here you can even see the address, the file, the address, the kind and type of the file. You can return each level of this address. We are moving back through this address. Even the name of the source. And when I click, the file will be open. I can also have a right click to have some special informations. I select this column, for example. I can have a right click here to select all of the similars. Right here, find matching items. Or I can select this one, for example. If there is any other item with the same type, it will be selected, which we don't have it here. This option is really interesting and also useful. I select this, and as you can see, other similars will be selected as well. I select this one, for example, then in type, find matching names. The matching types will be selected. So this is a professional plugin with many options. As an instance, here when I select some items, there is nothing in the properties window of the Navisworks, just the number of selected items. But here I can see and check 1535 selected items. With next, I can check each one I want. Guys, we don't need to check this number of items at the same time, but sometimes you might have 2 or 3 items and you want to compare them. But it's not possible here. But here in the plugin, item 1, item 2, with these informations, and I can compare the parameters. Now, this one and this one, for example. See? I can analyze them. So this plugin is really interesting. But there is another item here, which I turn this off. It's auto zoom, but it's on by default. When it's on, for example, you are holding control, and when you select another item, it will zoom on that item. Like this. Turn it off to be able to be more comfortable. But this is my opinion. If you need it, you can turn it on. So we have many things to do with this plugin, and we're gonna use it a lot. Here we have this model. I open Clash window here, a window like this. Okay, right now, before starting, we need to review some subjects. First of all, you should definitely create a Clash matrix for yourself. I wanted to share my samples, but it's not possible, so I use internet. Okay, right here. You need to create some categories for every single element. Guys, it's really important. As an instance, architecture. Let me have a note file here to be able to have a better description. A for architecture, and ME or M, MH or MP plumbing, MD domestic, or for example MF and electrical or other things. When we have architecture, we can have, for example, a ceiling, or for example a wall, or a door, again a window, and other parts. I just want to say that you have to mention every single detail in your categories, and I suggest you to do this in Excel, because in this way it will be really easier. Right here, Excel, one by one. Whatever you have here, every single category, vertically or horizontally, should be type here. Next one, a wall, here like this. After that, doors, here and here. Then windows, here and here. After that, right here, for example, MH dots, here and here. And we should complete it in this way. Guys, if you want to work professionally, you should not create a crash test and check For example, plumbings and columns. It's too general. If you want to act professionally as a professional BIM coordinator, you have to create a clash matrix according to your requirements or according to your priority. And then you need to have some categories here in this clash matrix. As an instance, hard clashes, soft clashes, or for example, duplicate clashes, or for example, some essential clashes, which are really important, or for example, normal clashes, and you can have some special coloring for each one to be able to work easily. In this way, when you have this chart, your reports will be really clear and obvious. As an instance, you can understand that there are 5 clashes for the walls and ducts. Or, for example, we don't have clash for the walls and windows normally. Except of this, something weird should be happen there. So it's necessary to have a clash matrix, and in this way you can have a professional control on your clashes, especially when you want to create clash sets, which you will see. It will be helpful. Okay, now we want to describe all of the clashes. And here I should tell you that you need to define the level of your clash in your contracts, which we have LOC for this. Level of coordination, and again LOC, level of clash. It's essential to define it in your contract. You need to know about the level of the analyzing and controlling the clashes. So level of clash and level of coordination. Sometimes coordination is total. As an instance, you categorize the clashes according to the priority. For example, first of all, control the poles and sewage with each other. After that, control the drains. Then control the ducts. And after that, water plumbings. These are some examples. We need to have this priority for ourselves. After that, we need to define the level of the clash. As an instance, when we have a razor which is through the floor, when you want to report it, you want to report it as a clash, and you want to describe it, or you want to ignore it. When you are controlling these small details, you're going to create a high level of clash. And in this way, for sure, the duration of your project will be longer, because creating the documents of the projects is really time consuming. And on the other hand, you need to know about some special tips and techniques. After analyzing and controlling the level of the clashes, here we have level of coordination. About aligning it, about the comments, about some extra information and descriptions, and totally you need to define the level of coordination in your contract. And after that, you can talk about the cost. Because when you want to work on a project, first of all, you need to analyze it. And after analyzing, you can say something about the duration of the project or about the cost. Without this analyzing, you might have some delay in your project because your customer might have some special details in the project, and when you know these details during working on the project, there will be some problem about the timing of the project. And in my opinion, it's not good at all. I try to talk about these important things in a webinar later. Okay, after these two important things, there is another thing which we need to talk about it. Again, it's about the contract, and we have to talk about it because it's important and you need to have a background about it to be able to work. Guys, what I'm gonna tell you is according to my experiences. In your contracts, don't say that you will have a model without any clash. It's not possible to have this kind of model at all. Seriously, it's not possible at all. Instead of this sentence, you can have a better sentence. As an instance, all of the clashes will be found and all of them will be analyzed. And there will be some reports about all of them. Don't say that all of the clashes will be removed, because this sentence can have a legal responsibility for you and it can cause some problems. You should say that you can find the clashes, you can analyze them, and you can report them. And some of the clashes can be removed. As an instance, and as I said before, there is a pipe out of the floor, and maybe they want to do something special during the work, or there are some pipes with 5 layers for watering. We don't define them as clashes because this problem can be solved during the work. So when we say a model without any clash, it means that we need to solve all of these problems, and the duration of this might be twice longer than your modeling. So avoid this sentence. You just need to find the clashes, you just need to analyze them, and you just need to report them. And solving and removing some of the clashes is your responsibility, and the others will be according to the opinion of the customer. Maybe you don't want to have this responsibility to solve that problems. It's up to you. So be careful about it. As I told you before, when you have a click on the Clash Detective, you will face with this Clash Detective window, which here we have some tools. When I click on Add Test, in this way, a new test will be created. And as you can see, there are some special options. You need to name this according to your clash matrix, which you created. Let's have an example. Here about this section, we said that duct, for example, with S columns, or S beams. Okay, copy it here and also this one. So here, for example, this name with S dash columns, or we can also have copy and paste. It's up to you. So we need to have a name. Here at the top, we can have a summary, which currently it's empty. When we work, we can have some informations here about the last time, the number of clashes, about the clash test which we choose, how many of these clashes are open, and how many of these clashes are closed, right here. By close, I mean done or finished. When you analyze some clashes, you can have this here. Here in status, which is about the status of the clash, we have 3 modes. It can be new, or down, or old. First one, new. You create a clash set, but you didn't run it yet. So suddenly, after creating a new clash test, you will have this new. After that, here we have down. After creating the clash test, when you run it and when it's simulating, here you can see this down. And the last one, which is old. When you have some edits or any change in down, after those changes, right here, you will see a yellow warning with this word old. It says here is some change in the model, on the model or on the property of this window, which the system couldn't sense the effect of those changes. And if you want to have those changes, you need to run it again. So this status, which is here, is about these 3 modes. And all of them are really helpful to be able to know about the mood of the clash. Here we can see all of the clashes. New clashes for the first time will be shown here. Active, the clashes which are founded before, but we haven't removed them yet. And after running them for some times, they will stay active here. If you review them and if you approve that there are clashes, they will be here in review. And after that approving that it's a clash and you need to work on it. And result for solved items. And the meaning of those colors is same as these parts. For example, approve is not about approval. It says we know that it's a clash and we need to work on it. And when you work on them, they will be here in result with a number. Okay, you can add how many you need. I add one of them here. And when you do this, here in this section, we have 4 tabs. Rules, Select, Result, and Report. Here in Rules section, you can consider some rules for that clash test. And during analyzing or simulating the clashes, those rules can be helpful. As an instance, do not consider that element as a clash or ignore it. As an instance, you have some clashes in your project and, for example, the whole mechanic and the whole structure. Now you can say that if there is a clash with the slab, do not consider the slab as a clash. This is the rule. And you can use these rules like this. How you can have them? It's better to create a set before starting. I select this. Then, here in this section, I can have some informations. Its type is floor with this name. And I should have a right click and then find match items to be able to select all of them easily. Then I copy the name and I save them. Copy value. Then here, save selection. And right click here, rename. And paste. There is another interesting possibility about this window. When I select this, right here, I can change it to search. I turn it to create search. And later I will tell you about the differences between search selection and create search. For example, here when I select create search set, it will be like this. It's exactly that one which now it's here. And let me tell you about the differences right now. The differences between these two items is about the process of the project, which search set is really better and more suitable. Why? Because when you want to work on a project with this BIM process, it's not possible to finish it in a week or in a month. You might have 6 months or a year in your contract. Or maybe you are involved till the end of the project, and according to the time which you dealt in your contract, you are updating these models, for example, weekly. Okay, now, if I want to use save selection, after having a new model, when I add some new elements here, and after that, when I want to have a selection, only the elements which used to be in this search selection will be selected, and the new things won't be selected. And I have to select them again and add them. And in big projects, you might forget about some small items. But in search set, when you have this rule, those things will be considered automatically. And this is the difference between these two, which is really important and also helpful. So I delete these, I just need to have this search. I can create a new rule here in rule section. And here are some templates by defaults, some default rules. For example, first one, terms in same layer. Guys, when you have some files from CAD or AutoCAD or Rhino or other softwares, which there are some layers there, these layers are equal to levels in Revit software, for example. So it says layer is same as the level according to same files, or for example here insulation thickness or same properties and others. For now, I want to use it with set selection. I mean, according to what we have in selection set. Select it here and select this one. Now here, I don't want it to be checked with this item. Here, for example, I can select some pipes. Then it will be added here. And if you don't want to have anything else and just want to have this, okay, only this one. For example, this one, if there is any similar item with this, don't select it. For sure, we don't want to have similar items, only pipes and channels. Then here like this, I select an item for each one as an instance. And here I can select the similar items. There is this possibility. Okay, and then I save it here like this. Duct. Okay, now here again I select new, and then here I can select all of these floors with these ducts, and then this checkbox of the clashes, I select it. Here it is, and in this way it will be an exception. If there is any clash about this, it will be ignored. So we can use rules, and it can be helpful in this kind of situations to ignore some elements in that clash. And in this way, we can avoid having a long and messy clash list. Okay, after rules, here we have selection, which again, it's really important to us. Here in this section, we have selection A and selection B. Actually, here you can choose the elements which you want to check them, or you can select the elements which they should be checked with the other elements. This is the reason which here we have selection A and selection B. Here we can select standard mode. Standard mode is according to what you have here in selection tree window. Let me return it here. Okay. This one out of it. Okay, right here. We name this standard. Same as here, this section. After that, here we have compact. By compact, it means here you have the levels, only the levels. You don't have the subsets. But when it's on standard, here you can see the subsets and the elements of these levels. After this item, here you can have properties. In this way, you can check them according to the properties. Like this. And it's totally up to you, according to the accuracy which you needed in your work. But normally, standard is most useful item here. But here we have set. If you made any set before doing this process, it will be really useful here. And I think you should do this. When we made the sets, we don't need to use standard anymore. And before making clash test, first of all, right here with using find item, I can have some search sets. Okay, how I can do this? Now, here I select one of these columns. Then there will be a value here, and I wanted to select all of the columns. All of the items which their category is column. The category here, not this one. I don't need elements ID. Okay, here, category, structural columns. As I told you before, this property window has an interesting option. Here I can have a right click and create search. See? As you can see, there will be a search here automatically, and it's amazing. But without having this plugin, you need to do this manually. I put the type of the category in Element because it's in Elements tab. In a standard window, you can see this better. Here, category and Element tab. Okay, then property type, category. Okay, then here equal to structural, not ID, the category. A little bigger. Okay, equal to structural columns. As you can see, we need to do this one by one and it's really time consuming. I delete it and I can do this really easy here in property window, which is a plugin. Right click right here, create search, and automatically done. Now find all, and in this way all of the similar items will be selected. Same as here with the right click. Create search set, and automatically there will be a search set. Okay, I delete the old items. I keep this one here, and right click here, rename. I name it S-columns. Then I select one of these columns, right click here, and this time according to a structural usage, girder. Then right click here and create search set. First of all, match to select all of the similar items, all of the girders, copy value, and create. Okay, here it is, girder, and right click and rename it. I name it as BIM girder. Now this time joist. A structural usage, joist. Right click, all of them, again right click, create search set. Here like this. Then rename. Guys, renaming is optional. If you want, you can rename it and name it according to your clash matrix. So, again S, BIM, and joist. Now let's do some channels. For example, this is the structure. I select them, then here, system classification. According to this, right here we have supply air, copy value, right click here, match. See, all of the supplies are selected. And right click here on the supply and create search set. After that, here again, right click, rename. I add M at the beginning. Then I select this one or this one. Then here, system classification. Here, return air, copy value. There is its name, so it's not necessary to have copy value. Right click again, find, and select all of the returns. And here again, right click, create search set. Here again, rename, M dash. Okay, now I hide these two. What else do we have here? What is this? This is exhaust. Right click and select all of the exhausts. And again, right click and here. Guys, you will see that how helpful is this plugin in your projects. You can save lots of time and you will be faster. Okay, done. I closed these windows. I don't need them anymore. And this one too. Okay, when I open this Clash window, here I can select set and I have these items here. Here we have ducts and columns. Duct. Now which one? For now, here I select supply. I rename this here, rename, and I name it S, columns, and um, supply. Here, capital S, copy. Okay, here I select column with supply. Then I create another add test here, and I put this one to set. Then I rename this. Here, for example, column with return. Here, column, then this section, return. I create another one. Here, set, and set, and here, exhaust. And again, column, and here, exhaust. And one more time here. You need to do this same as the number of items which are in your clash matrix, and it can be really helpful. Now, S and G, I type it in this way to make it shorter. Beams and again, these items, supply. Like this, which this section is for the girders, and here supply. Now I can add it here. This one with joist, with supply, and again here, and here. This joist with supply and others. I need to continue this in this way, and these are just some examples. Now I select this first item and here in select. As I told you before, when I select, they will change. Here in this section, we have some tools for selection A and selection B, each one separated. Here we have surface. Here we can choose to have clash for surfaces or not. And for sure, we want this. This is our purpose. We want to find it out. Next one is line. Do we want to know about the clash in lines or not? Normally, we don't need this except of the times which you have some models with some lines, which that lines can help you in clashing. And with this item, you can decide to include point geometry in the clash test or not. Okay, after that, here we have another item, which is self-intersect. Guys, when you select this one, when you are testing, for example, column with supplies, if there is any clash about two columns, you can know about it. And when you deselect this one, you just see the clashes about the columns and the supplies. And column is not really okay. Let me change it to duct. And right now, it tests the clashes between the ducts and supplies, and also supply with supply. This is everything about self-intersect. To be able to talk about next two tools, let me have a clash test here as an instance test. Okay, it can happen to you most of the times. Here, for example, I select this, and then right here, I want to select all of the similar items. In this way, we have nothing to do with self-selection or self-set. I just need to click on this item. In this way, all of the similar items will be selected. The things which you selected in this project has nothing to do with this window. You can check the clashes only when you have them in this window. And you can do this, as I told you, with this item. And right now, I want to select one of these pipes or these channels. Here, and also this one. And here, same name. And a click right here. And all of those items are selected here. Then, with a click on the run, all of these items will be checked. And as you can see, there is a clash here. And it's about intersect because we select it. And this element has a clash with itself. See? We will talk about these things later. And as you can see, when I select each one, it's about self-intersect. Obviously, there is no any clash about the structural elements. Like this. Okay. Back to here. We have the opposite of it as well. Okay, sometimes here in this window in selection A and selection B, you've selected some elements and now you need to select it in the project as well. You can use this selecting scene. When you use it, you can select the elements in the project here as well. So here are these items which we talked about them. Return to set, this one as well. When I put it in set, it will work according to the sets. See, when I select this set, or when I select this one, it will select this set. Where is it? It's here. Return air. Do we have it? It should be around here. Okay. This one is correct. Here, here, and this one. Oh my god, they're hidden by me. This is the reason which I can't select them. Now on height, and then I can have them. Okay, and now they're selected correctly. I delete this one and okay, that's it. After that, here in this section, setting, we have an interesting item. Here in this list, we can see the different types of the clashes, which I told you about them before. Soft, hard, clearance, and also duplicates. And we have also this conservative hard here. When we have it in hard, if there is any clash between these two elements, here and here, if there is any physical intersection, it will be known as a clash. Except of this, nothing will be sensed. And here we can control the tolerance. Let me have an example. When it's less than 30 centimeters, it should be ignored. Because when we have this value, we can solve this problem during the work. We can work on it. And here you can, the value which you need it. It's up to you. So for hard, we need physical intersection. And as I told you before, for physical intersection and clash, two triangles should be overlapped to be able to know it as a hard clash. The second one is conservative hard. In this one, even when we have two triangles which they are close to each other, they will be known as a clash because it's in conservative hard and there might be some clashes which they're not important to you. But with this item, you can be more sensitive and know them. Next one is clearance. We can also call it soft clash. Sometimes you need to control the clashes based in the distances. As an instance, for the doors and the columns, when you have less than 10 centimeter, define it as a clash. Or when you have less than 5 centimeter between the fan coil and the sub-slab, define it as a clash. These are just some examples. Here you work based on some distances and numbers, and the numbers should be here. The unit of this part is according to the defaults. When the defaults is in meter, here you have meter. When you have inch, here you have inch. And you can have whatever you want here. For example, when I have 10 inch here, it will convert it automatically. Or when I say 10 foot, it will convert it. 100 millimeter, it will be converted. Or for example, 5 centimeter, again, like this. So as you can see, it can be really helpful. Next item is duplicate. Guys, this one is so interesting, especially in mechanic and structure. In a structure, especially when you want to have rebars or when you want to work on the connections, most of the elements should be copied to be able to work faster, and it can cause many clashes because of the overlappings. Guys, duplicate can show two elements which are at the same position with the same IDs, and it can find repetitive items and elements which you imported to the software. And sometimes you can have this option for the whole project. As an instance, here I click on add and then a new add test here, and after that here I want to have this setting, the whole structure with itself, and duplicate 0 and OK. If there is any overlapping about two elements, we will face with it, but now we don't have it. So this is duplicate. Let me return to heart. Here, heart. Till 3 centimeter. This item is link, and such an interesting item. Let me have a run right now to be able to see a result so far. To continue, when I want to have a result about these clashes with these settings, so far I need to click on this. Okay, we don't have any clash about this. Let's have next item. For example, right here, beams with this one. And 3 centimeter, it's too much for here. 1 centimeter is better. And run. Okay, as you can see, here are 4 clashes. Return to this section. If there is any clash with itself, I want to see it. Let's try it more professional. Okay, look at here. Here in status, first of all, here you can see the last clashes. And when you take a glance on this, you will see that here we have 6 clashes. And 2 of them just added to this list. Because if you remember, we did it once, there were 4. And I wanted to have self-intersect, and 2 new clashes are added here. 2 of them are seen for the first time, and the others are active. These are the information of this section. Back to here. Okay, I wanted to describe this section. Here in this section, I wanted to select these in the project. And I open this properties window. Then I select this element to see do we have any similar, or I select this, and after that right click on this type name and match to be able to see all of the similar elements. After selecting, right here, find selection, and here we have supply. I click on supply. One more time. I want to add this. Where is the name? Here it is. Match. Okay, then right click on the supply and update. Right here. Now when I select supply, this should be added. Let's try it one more time. Okay, match. This is selected. Then I select supply. Then right click and update. Now it should be added. Where is it? Why it's not added? Okay, one more time. Match. It's okay, and this is supply. Everything is okay. Yeah, we didn't search. This is the reason which is not added here. Yeah, we didn't search. So I need to select this one more time. And here. And then here I create state selection. And I name it MEC. Alright, to contain these items. After that, right here, I select this and run. Okay, like this, and as you can see, there are some overlapping like this. Zoom at this section. Here, like this. And return to this section. I select this. As I said before, sometimes you create a timeliner. But what is it for? When you create this timeliner, and where you are doing this clash test, here in this section, you can select your timeliner, which it's 10 by default. In this way, you will understand about the exact time of this clash. You will be in an accurate timeliner, and the simulate window will be open, and you can see that when this will happen. This is the one, and the other one is for sometimes which you simulate some sections. For example, the motion of the machines or whatever. And right now I want to simulate the motion of this. So in animate section, I need animate window. I open it, then I close the rest of the windows. Then here in this section, add scene, a new scene. And while this element is selected, right click here and then add selection. I mean from current selection, whatever which is selected in the scene. And its name can be animation 1. Okay, move is selected and these gizmos are here. As you can see, you can have some controls. When I approach the mouse, the gizmo will be turned to yellow, so we can change it. I press Ctrl and I move it up. Then I move this and I create a keyframe here. Here and here and another one. Okay, as you can see, it's moving. And after that, here, this one forward. Here, again, another one, this time higher. It's installed here, for example. Something like this. And I know that there is an overlapping. Now I turn off the move and I play it. It will be like this. You want to show the process, for example. Okay, now you are wondering about the time of the clash in this process. Return to clash. Now here, as you can see, you can have animation. Click, then here step. With this item, you can choose about the amount of the clash. For example, if there is this amount of clash, I want to see it. With increasing this value, you will have more and bigger clashes during the animation. As an instance, the half of this is in the clash. But when it's in 5, for example, or 1, we will see the moment of the clash, which is about 2 or 3 centimeter. Now in 5, it will be like this. Change it to 50, run, see, it's higher. We can simulate it in different steps. For example, at the beginning, as in instance, 5, I want to move it downward just a little. Here, 1, and run. Where is it? Here? Is it? Yeah. It might be on 1 right here, and the person which you are working with him or her might say, okay, I push it and it will be fixed. But how about the above? You need to know about the all steps. When you are working, you need to consider, for example, 25. How about this? So be careful about it. When you have small numbers like 1 or 2, it might be a little, but when you increase the value, it will be more obvious. So, about this section, link, animation, and also timeliner can be available, both of them. I don't want to enter and explore these things for timeline. Right here and right click, and after that, here in this section, This item, for every topmost layer, I select it, and in this way, it considers all of the layers, each of them as a timeliner, and it simulates each of them for 1 day by default. I play, for example, like this. Each of them is for 1 day. And here in this section, we have some informations. Right now, for example, it's about the mechanic. Okay, I pause it for now. Then in setting, this section, overlay, text, and I change the color to green, and I press Ctrl, lower, here, color, blue. Here, as an instance, material cost, enter, and again, the color, green, and labor cost. Okay, color, what else do we have? Red, equipment cost, and again, red. We already have red. I change it to green, and total cost. Okay, right here in this section, parentheses, and I copy this parenthesis and I paste it in these parts. I want to type them in Persian, and you should have parentheses. Without parentheses, it might not be written. First one, material cost, and the second one, labor cost. Okay, next one, equipment cost, and total cost. Okay, like this. Okay, and they're added here. I didn't consider any cost, so I turn off this one for now. And then in this section, choose timeliner columns. I select material, labor, and also equipment, and total cost down, up, and OK. Here material 25, right click. Let's see, what do we have here? I select it here. I press shift, then till the here, right click and fill down. In this way, I can have this cost for all of them. I don't want to have cost for each one separately, so I can do it like this. Again, this one 45, fill down. Right click, fill down. And total cost automatically like this. I did this to be able to have some costs and values here. As you can see, when I'm working, I can have these values here. Okay, I close this. Now, for sure, there are some clashes in that timeliners. So, I change this to timeliner. Now, when I run it, it will work exactly in that duration, exact moment. See? I open this timeliner window, then I move this to be able to see better. See, it's here. Exactly level 5 and day 57, 9th week. It means if we want to have this project, if we want to do it in this level, in this step, or in this time, we will face with this problem. And so far, these costs are here. But you need correct information and data. It's amazing, especially in project management, for the costs and for all of the controls of this project. Here again, next one. When I select each one, I can see these informations. Now next one. See? But this should be active. And how about this step? It should be done or during working. The status of the simulating. I put it in 5. Run. I want it to be more accurate. But here I need to tell you that our tasks are for 1 day, so maybe it won't be really different. But in real world, there are some real times and real days, and it might be different. And they might be really effective and different when you have them in 1 or 5, for example. But in this example, it seems like this. Okay, so far we covered these sections, and now this one, composite object clashings. This is really useful, and in some softwares like Revit software, you have some elements. For example, right here, I open this family and I select this. Now this one, and as you can see, all of them are made in one family. Yeah, this one as well. No, this one is made in another environment. Here, this one is made in another place. And after that, it's nestled in this family. We call them composite, which they are consist of some different places. And at the end, they're assembled in one single place, as you can see like this. When we have this kind of families in the software, for example, right now in this project, this sample file of the Revit, let me have Navis again. We have some elements which they have some clashes with them. See, for example, here. Okay, for example, this one. I move this one manually like this. And then here. Okay, forward. And then like this. I want it to be like this. A part of it with this section and another part with this nestled section. In this situation, when you deselect this checkbox, the clash testing will be between this and this at first, and one more time between this one and this lower element. Or it's better to say we have an extra clash testing. And in these situations, we should select this checkbox. And we need to define this as one clash, not two. When you have a big and complicated family with many nested families, especially industrial projects, maybe you need to find the clashes between this element, for example, and some other nested elements. So deselect this checkbox. But normally we select this checkbox because if there is any clash here, I reset it. Just knowing about this clash is enough. I don't need to know about each of them separately because it's obvious. But as I said, if there is any sensitive project, for example, some industrial projects which are really complicated and you need to know about each clash separately, you should deselect this checkbox. Back to here again. Now in results, when you do some clashes, here, 0. Okay. Here in result, we have some informations. First of all, display mode might be in wireframe or some different mode. You can control them here in application, options, then tools, and clash detective. Here, deselect wireframe. It's selected by default. We can deselect it to have it just transparent. And after that, here we can control the amount of transparency, like this. 95, for example. And I deselect this one. I'm more comfortable in this way. Here in this section, I can control the color of different groups. For example, selection A and selection B. They are in red and green by default, but you can customize them. And if you did any change and you want to undo them to defaults, click on this to reset them. Reset to defaults. I deselect this and this one, 95. Okay, like this. And here we have some other parameters which later I will talk about them. Here, for example, we can see the duration, 1 for example, which it's too fast, I change it to 3 seconds. And pause. I want it to pause in 3 seconds. And animation transition duration 5 seconds, for example. Okay, then here in this section, when I click on this, as you can see, we have some kind of jump. When I select this checkbox, animation transition, you will see that those times will be useful. These are the times, the style of zooming or zoom out, and these kind of things. Okay, in this section, here in this section, we have some options. First of all, this one, which is group, when we select it, there will be an empty group. It will be created. And then you can drag some clashes in this group to have them as a group. And it's really interesting, but I remove them. When you are working as a BIM coordinator or a professional modeler, there might be some clashes detected by you, and the responsibility of the BIM coordinator is more sensitive. So the clashes should be categorized in special groups. The clashes which are the same, in the same category, or same people, or same fields. For example, mechanical group, electrical group, or architectural group. In this way, you can't have them like this. You need to categorize them. In this situation, this group can be helpful. Create a group. I name it mech. Then select related items and drag them. And then they will be known as one element. As you can see, they're highlighted. And you can select and ungroup them. How about the next one? For example, you selected some elements. When you select this item, group selected clash, you can put all of them in a group automatically, and its name will be new group 1, new group 2, and like this till the end. And you can also rename them. I rename this one to mech, for example, and this. This one, sometimes you might make a clash group I mean, and you put it some sections or some elements in it by mistakes. In this time, you can select it here and you can remove it. Like this, it will be out of this group. I can even select it again and delete it. So everything about this clash group here is really amazing. Now, I click on this section, level. In this way, I can sort all of them according to the level. And as you can see, level 5, for example, from here till here. Yeah, level 5. I select all of them and a group for them. I name it level 5. Next one, level 4. From here till here. 4. Again, select it and L4. Next one should be level 3. Till here. Level 3. Group them like this. And now level 2 till here. Select and L2. Okay, we can continue to categorize all of them in this way. And when we have these groups, we can manage them and we can control all of them easily. As an instance, level 4. These are the clashes which I have in level 4. These are the clashes of level 3. Okay, that's it. Now here I want to talk about another subject, and I ungroup them. I said Coordinate is an interesting plugin. Let's check it together. Guys, I can't work with some of the options which are here because in this way I should buy an account. So let's skip it and right here, create groups. We can use it offline. I click on this and in this way it will create groups automatically. For example, currently I'm in this clash test. I should choose the subject of the group. I can group them according to property, file, or layer, or I can group them according to their category, or I can group them by the levels. And here are some interesting and useful parameters. And the point is that it will group them automatically. Okay, here are the parameters. Here I can select grid intersection, level, grid level, or level grid. I want it to be in level. Okay, after that, do we need date or do we need any text? Here I type BIM like this, and here as you can see there is a sample name, BIM, the name of the level, BIM, name of the level, like this. And you can have whatever you want, for example clash, it's up to you, like this. When I click on group clashes, it will create the groups automatically. All of those processes can be done by a couple of clicks here. And in this way, it's more accurate, faster, and better. When we want to do this process manually, we might have some mistakes. But here, it will be automatically without any mistake, and it's amazing. And we can have this option with this plugin, create group. And as I told you, it's really helpful and you can be really faster with this. Okay, here again, how many of them are here? I just need to select one of them. When I click, it will be zoom and I can orbit to be able to have a better direction. And after finding the suitable position, I need to have a click somewhere else. In this way, it will have a new position, new view. So when the views are not okay, you can control them like this. Here we can control the status. For example, I define that this clash is resolved or active, for example, or approved. Or if I'm not sure, I can have reviewed till I'm sure and I can approve it that it's a clash. After that, here we have the name of the level, and here grid intersection, here description, date, and here distance. Guys, the software considers this to sort the clashes by defaults. The biggest value is at the top and the smallest value is at the bottom. These groups made by us are different, but this is the way which the software sort these clashes by defaults. Okay. After that, here we can have right click wherever we want and choose columns, and in this way we can control these columns. As an instance, I might need clash points. I don't want description or approval. I deselect them. Okay, and as you can see, here I have the points. And in Revit software, they can be really helpful when we want to analyze some elements. Okay, this one is really interesting. It shows the grid intersection, the exact place of the intersection, if you want to know the address according to the grids. And when you have a right click here, you can have some other items. As an instance, quick filter by this level, but they should not be grouped. But you have this option and you can use it like this. For example, only new items. Okay, after that, here in this section, we have a sign. And here we can enter the name of the person which we want to assign this clash to him. As an instance, Ali. And with a note, for example, something like this. And the text will be added like this. And later, others can understand the reason of having this clash as a note. And these are the items which I said they are about the level of coordinates. In low levels, we don't mention these small details. We don't need this information. It's more general. But in level up coordinates, we have to have all of these small details. And here you can unassign them. You can even have a comment. You can have a window like this, and you can type as an instance level 4, enter, and check model, for example. And after that, here I can choose new active approval, which I should select active, for example. Okay. And if I want to check the commands, here in review window, here find comment. In source, when you click on find, you can see all of the commands. See? Now here we can have all of the elements because I commented on a group. When I click on each one, we can go on that element to be able to find it. Or we can find the commands according to the dates or according to the type of the text or status or other things. And that's it about the commands. We have another interesting item here, filter. Sometimes you select an area in the project, for example here. When the filter is unknown, let me ungroup these items to be able to see them better. Ungroup. Okay. Okay, here are the elements. Zoom out. Okay, when it's unknown, it doesn't affect, and all of the clashes are visible here, which there are about 1121. When I change it to exclusive, it will be about the elements which are in this area, this selected area. When I change it to inclusive, we can see the elements which are overlapping. So here we can have this control easily. Maybe sometimes you just need to check a special area in the project, like this area, for example. When I have this in noun, all of the area will be visible. Exclusive and inclusive and these filters about this area. Guys, this can be really helpful when you have a complicated big project and you just need to check a part of the project. In this way, you don't need to check the whole project. To click and drag, you need to press space. Now only these items, all of these elements, but in this area, only these elements. And when I click, I can see that element. And also noun. Okay, and when I click on reset, everything will be resetted. And it's like I need to do it one more time. And another item here, which is compact. It's really interesting. It's for the times which you resolved some clashes. When you resolve some clashes, it's not necessary to have them in this list anymore. When you click on this, those clashes will be removed from this list. Maybe you find some clashes, you find some links, you solve the problems, you update the model, and at the end, you solve the clashes. And I can have compact to remove them from this list. And when I run it again, they will be here again because I didn't solve them. I controlled them manually. It doesn't count manual controls. As you can see, it will be here again. 12 are returned again. Okay, here in this window, here for example, you can have some settings to be able to see the selected item. But when I select this one, the rest of them will be semi-transparented. And here I can control the color. It can be according to the color of the model or color of the clash. And here in this section, I can choose to highlight all of the clashes or not. Like this. And here, showing the color according to status or item color. You can use status when you did something here. Now I change it to status, and right now, as you can see, some places are in red and some others are orange. And here, for example, can be yellow, approve, or I can change this to review. Or here, okay, here, approve. When you do this, everything will be shown according to the colors which you choose. But when I change it to item color, they will be shown according to the colors of the items. Okay, that's it. Right click again and run to return everything. Here in this section, I just need to select one of these and I remove this, zoom out. Okay, here when we select transparent, they will be transparented. And here we have this one which is auto reveal. Now I deselect this and everything is matte. Then here in this section, the clash is not visible, but when I select this, I can increase my visibility. It's like I'm using X-ray in a camera and I can see the exact location of the clash. But when I deselect it, it will be gone. Even in transparented mode, when I use this, it will be more visible. But generally, this is more useful. When you select a clash, it will make it visible, like this, to be able to see it easily. Okay, that's it. Next one is viewpoint. We can choose to have an automatic update about the viewpoint, or we can choose to do this manually. When you choose manually, you need to update it after controlling it, like this, or here, save a point. But most of the times, update can be okay. Okay, here, animation, transition. When I deselect it, all the motions will be like jumping. But when it's selected, there will be an animation. And in this way, you can know about the location of the clashes from where to where. And after that, here in this section, show simulation. Guys, when you deselect this, these won't be visible in timeliners. And if you want to have them, you need to select this. After that, here we have view in context. We have some times above, which they can be used here as well. There are 3 items, all, file, home. When it's in all, when you click on view, it will be about the whole project. We have pause, which it will pause it and then zoom in again to be able to see where are we. And in file, it will be according to the file. And currently, file and all are kind of similar. It's not possible to see the differences. And this is home. Now I change the home like this, right click, and then this item set current view as home. Okay, now all, okay. And home again, as you can see, it will be according to the home. Everything which is in 3D view by default. Now here in home, move it. Here, for example, this. Okay, so this is about this section. After that, here we have report. Let me tell you something about result. Here we have an item. When we click on it, there will be an open list, and which class you select, like this. Right now it's hatchback. Let me open the file here separately. Open and unload. Return to Navisworks. I put these two beside of each other. Which one is Navisworks? Here it is. Let it be in full. Okay. Here, when you click on this item, that element will be selected. And with this item, the element and everything which is here as a clash with this element will be in a group. In these kind of situations, an element might have clash with couple of elements. Here you can select all of them easily and you can have them in a group. This one is switchback. Here in Revit software, I activate switchback. Now when I click on this, it will return my model to Revit software with the exact location of it. It says it's here. Now you can solve the clash. You can remove the section box. Here. Okay, like this. In the 3D view. Now export it again and apply this on the previous file and refresh it to have updates. So this switchback item can be useful in this kind of situation. Or when you selected with this item, in this section, you can have switchback as well. You can use it here too. But be careful, we don't use switchback, except of the times which there are only 2 or 3 clashes, or when we have the main clashes. And when we have many clashes like now, for example 1000 clashes, we can't use switchback. It wastes all the time. And all of these updatings and exportings are really time consuming and it's wasting the time. Okay, here in report, we can prepare reports. Here are some elements. First of all, here we have an item as a viewpoint. When we select this and preserve, result highlightings and run. After that, it creates a section in Save Viewpoint window for the clashes. We can have all of them here. I can have a right click here in this empty space, add animation, and have the animation at the top to animate them. There are too many. I put it here. And I drag these items to the subset of this animation. See, like this. When I select these, in animation section, there is a play. I can play it here. I close this. After that, as you can see, the clashes will be moving. The colors are a little different. And with more accurate zoomings and zooming outs, it will be better. For now, I want to pause it. But most of the times, we don't need to create animations. We just need to analyze everything. And if that clash is a hard clash, here in review, I can have a review for it. We can improve the element. We can write a text and these things will be saved automatically. So this item can be helpful in these kind of situations. But generally, we use HTML to have everything in charts. And right, we need a path, save. Then this process will start. And the format is HTML. It's working here, a folder and a file. Now when I open this, you will see that all of the clashes are here. All of them are defined in correct categories, element IDs, and with clicking on each one, it will be shown obviously until the end. And the IDs are here as well. I can select them. First ID, second. I copy this ID here in Revit, manage, and select by ID. Okay, selection box here, and we will see where is it. See? And there is an overlapping here. This is a clash. And to be sure, here in Analyze section, Show Disconnect, Docked, okay. See? It's not connected. It's just inside of this element. The reason that it's a clash is that it's not connected. They should be connected to each other. And in that time, this sign will be gone. See, it's here. So I move this, and as you can see, it's gone. Now there's no any overlapping, and it's not a clash anymore. I deselect this, and the one which we solved here in adding section, I exported on the previous one. Yes, and wait for it to be finished. When it's done, return to Navisworks again, and then here I just need to have a refresh. Here in this section, refresh. The model will be updated here in Clash. Which one? I think it was this one. I can't remember it. I think it was this one. I'm not sure. I run it. There are 4 results, but I'm not sure about them. When it's a result, the color will be yellow automatically. Okay, I can do something to solve this problem. Right click here, and I can control the sort. I sort them by results. Let's see which one is the one. I did them manually. I'm looking for the one which I did it automatically. Was it in this cluster or not? I think I see something here. Here it is. It's not. So probably it wasn't this clash test. This one. Run. Back to here. It must be the first one. I need to search for it to find it. When you solve it, and it will be updated here, when you refresh, that clash will be resolved here automatically. And right now there are too many. I need to check all of them one by one to find it. And the number of resolved items will be here, but you need to update it. Here in this window again. Okay, so here we can analyze them one by one. They should be categorized to be able to check them one by one easily. Here at the top, we have nothing more, just the name of the companies. For example, Autodesk, Navisworks, and it will be in this folder First of all, let me tell you, if you want to send it somewhere, the file itself cannot be valid. You need to send it with this folder because the pictures are in this folder. Here in this folder, you can have your desired logo. It can be for your company or your office. Everything you want, it's up to you, but you can change the defaults of the software. Let me have Photoshop, but if you have it, it's okay, you can use it. I open the picture here. Here, just to see the dimensions. Then I create a new image size. Here, the height is 66. So, new, this one, the height 66, and this one 1080. Okay, like this. And now a picture, it can be according to the advertisement of your company or whatever, it's up to you. Here, for example, I want to have this picture. I drag it here, something like this. I export this, the format here like this, and export. In this path, I save it with this format. Okay, we close this. No. Okay. Here it is. I copy the name with every prefix and suffixes. Back. Another back. Here it is. I replace it here. I mean the name. Control C. Inside of this folder, I paste it. It will be replaced. Now when I open this, you will see here is this form and it's updated. It has changed. It can be according to your company and advertisement of your work. Whatever you want, it's up to you, but you have this option and it can be really interesting. Here in Navis again, and that's it, the report. And in this way, you can have reports from the clashes which you have in Navis software. These are the things which you need to know them about the clash. You need to know all of these parameters. You need to practice a lot. You should know how to control them. You can start creating clash matrices because you need it for every single project, and it can make you faster for next project. And let me tell you about another thing here. Here we have an item which is import export clash test. In every project you have some common and similar categories, the clash matrix I mean, and if you do this for a project correctly, you can export it for yourself. As an instance, this one right here, I name it clash, for example. Let me save it. Okay, reset a raw file here and WC, for example, this structure. Then here, import clash test. Where is it? Here it is. Clash import. All of them will be here in the new project, and here I can choose which one I need. And when you do it for a project correctly, it can be useful for the others. And you can start creating your clash matrix according to what I told you. You can create search sets, and when you have all of these categories, you don't have to have all of them again in the next project. You just need to have an import export. It can make you fast. Okay, here, as you can see, this file is new, but these things are defined here. This is the advantage of the search set. It can know the similars. This was everything about this webinar, controlling and managing the clashes in BIM projects, which you can use Navisworks. This is one of the most important things which you need to know to be able to work in each BIM project. I tried to make it useful to you. I hope that you enjoyed. I really love to know about your opinions about this webinar. So share your comments. I hope that you enjoyed. Good luck. Bye.